This is Sit With Me. I am your host, Tori Christina, and we are here today with Kenyatta Speaks. Yes, she is a professional mental health specialist, and we're going to talk to her today to see what she can give us, because she has a lot to give. What she can give us to help us as we're on our journey to make sure that we're managing our mental health, that we are addressing it, that we are dealing with it, and we're just not allowing it to deal with us. And you know what? My guest yesterday, let me tell you what she said. She's also PhD mental health person, professional. And she said at the end of the show, she said something about, if you have diabetes, you get help for it. If you have cancer, you get help for it. If you have a mental health issue, you need to get help for it, or it will kill you.
Yeah.
And I think I flatlined when she said that, but it's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
You feel the same way.
Yeah, you can be dead emotionally just as well as
Right.
physically.
Right.
So it's really a choice. It's really a choice all day, every day.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. And we talked about that, about those choices that we have to make. And that is like a real reason why I wanted to create this platform, is because I want people to know that they have a choice and they have power and they have the ability to overcome this mental issue. And even because I know, like for me, mine is PMDD, was just premenstrual dysphoric disorder, which only lasts, I say only, but 15 days out of a month is a lot. But I know that there are some people that deal with bigger issues, being bipolar or whatever, and that's schizophrenic, and they're dealing with that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to help us that are in this community is how we can get control over this thing that we obviously have to deal with.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's taking a look at it. Well, being willing to look is the first, I think is the first step, because everybody has a different foundation of, how could I say, they just have a different foundation every day. So when we think about mental health, it's different for everybody. And so when we kind of go back to homeostasis, my homeostasis may look different from yours because of all of your past life experiences, and the things that you're going through and your mental state. So just trying to find a way to recalibrate that,
Right.
because what we're used to is normal to us.
Right.
So are we willing to be uncomfortable being uncomfortable?
Right.
Because we're already uncomfortable anyway.
Right.
Yes.
And like you said, it's just admitting that you're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like something is not right. And I think that's what we have said amongst all of these shows, is that just getting to the place where you realize that something is not right. Something is a little off, and I need help.
Right.
I need help. So tell us a little bit about Kenyatta Speaks.
So I was born and raised.
Ready?
Yes. I was born and raised in the city of Riviera Beach.
Okay.
Right in Morro Heights, right
Okay.
in the midst of it all.
Yes.
Where there could be a lot of trauma, experiencing, different environments and things like that. So going from Riviera Beach to middle school John F. Kennedy to Suncoast Community High School, because that's where I went. I was able to experience a lot of different groups of people.
Right.
So a lot of people say that they go off to college and, they are around people of different cultures and different ethnicities. I was able to kind of see a little bit of something different from, the environment that I was raised in. I graduated from Barry University. I got my master's degree. Sorry, I completely forgot about my bachelor's degree.
I got my master's though. I just talked about this. I tried to go back and get my master's. I was like 3 classes in, like,
Oh, you get to do
I was
that.
not ready.
You get to do that. Up until now, you are not ready, because I'm pretty sure that's at the core of something that you've been wanting.
Lord,
right?
We gonna pray about it.
Yeah. So I got my undergrad at FAU, and I'll tell you the story about me going to college. I did not like school. I just really got by. I cheated sometimes to just get by, even in high school. But I majored in sociology. So when I finished school,
That was your bachelor's?
That was my bachelor's degree in a bachelor's of arts in sociology. So when I graduated, I got a job with DCF. And this is when DCF first privatized, and I was just looking to work. I didn't care where I worked. Mom told me, you better get a job.
Right.
And working for DCF, and over a couple of years, I started working in St. Lucie County.
Okay.
And by doing that, I saw a need that was in the community for young adults who were aging out of foster care. And my heart poured out to a couple of the kids that I did have some experiences with.
So they don't have services for kids that age out of foster care?
Yeah, they have services. There are a lot of different resources in the community for these kids. But what happens when these kids get ready to age out of foster care, when they do age out of foster care, they don't really have a lot of life skills, because there's a large amount of them who are on runaway status. So they'll run away for, their different reasons, to maybe get back to their families if, their parents' rights were terminated and, they can't really be with them. So that's the thing. They'll age out, but then they don't really have all of the skills that they need to have.
Right.
And so I transitioned back to Palm Beach County, and then I had an amazing supervisor by the name of Maria, and she encouraged me to go back to school. I was like, I don't want to go to school. I never really liked school, but the need was so great because when I was a case manager, I just noticed that I was doing home visits every 30 days, checking in the refrigerator, making sure the kids had food, and the parents were going to their different appointments and things like that. But I felt like that there was more that I can do. I'm not sure if you've ever had the feeling that you're kind of pregnant, not literally pregnant.
I understand. I just had this conversation with somebody about being pregnant.
Yeah.
Like in the spirit, when God gives you something that you're supposed to birth, like you make preparation for it. Exactly. Even like in the natural, you get your baby room ready. You start thinking of names. You prepare your body. You don't eat a certain way. And so it's just the same thing when you have something that you need to bring forth for the greater good of mankind. You have to prepare for it. And that's mind, body, and soul.
Yeah. So, so I went back to school. I was working a full-time job and also a part-time job. I went to school over the weekends.
You were working a full-time job, a part-time job, and going to school?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I was going to school, and I was going to school on the weekends. So I was able to kind of manage both. And I graduated in 2011 with my master's degree from Berry with a social work degree.
I'm going to give you a hand. You did that.
Yeah.
So you know what question I had is, okay, so when you say that when the children age out of foster care and they don't have those skills, do you feel like when they're in these foster homes that they're not really being raised?
I think that they are, and they're different groups of children. So you have some children that have severe mental health disorders and need some additional support. And then you have some kids that just have severe behavioral issues, oppositional defiant disorder. What else would I say?
We just say they bad.
Well,
that's what we would say.
Yeah, and they're not really bad. They just been dealt a bad hand.
Yeah,
they've been
trauma.
Yeah. And so with those kids, they're defiant. So those kids would be placed in a group home, and if they don't like the group home, they don't get to do what they want to do, they run away.
But do you think, or I guess I'm asking a professional, is being defiant like a defense mechanism?
It depends. There could be some chemical imbalance. There could be some cognitive concerns that would be being addressed, and different things that you can do for these kids, which is therapy, teaching them coping skills and things like that. But if people aren't willing to learn and willing to practice what it is that they're being given, then it's kind of like, well, what do we do next?
Right. And that's, like I said, that's what this platform is about. We want to be accountable for the hand that we've been dealt. Yes. It really affects not just you, but it affects the people around you. So if you're having issues, your mental health is unstable, that's something that you really have to look at and you really have to address, and you have to take accountability for it, because there are methods to help you with your mental health.
Oh, yeah. And I like to use a distinction between have to and get to. Because when we think of have to, it's like so much pressure, so much, oh, I have to do this, I have to get here on time, this is that. But we say, well, I get to do this, I get to practice my skills, I get to be here. It takes on this whole nother mood that you get to create for yourself every day.
Right.
And it kind of takes that pressure off.
Yeah, it puts a little joy in it.
Yeah.
It puts a little joy in it. So tell us about Kenyatta Speaks. You're still telling us.
Okay, so I'll tell you a bit about my own personal journey.
Okay.
So in the end of October 22nd, actually, of 2018, I was at a place in my life that I was used to being at my job. I was a clinical director for a nonprofit organization that provides mental health treatment for kids that are in foster care. But I was under a program where we were providing in-home family therapy for at-risk families who had kids that were at risk of coming into foster care.
Okay.
And I had been doing that since 2011. So from 2011 all the way up into 2021, I was doing it. I learned the job, knew the job. I just felt like it was drag. I really didn't have the passion that I had for anymore. And I would just go to work, just do it, and that's it. So there was this guy, his name is Ralph Campbell. I completely give my life to him. He came over and did a training for our entire company. And after the training, he was like, well, let me know if you need support and let me know how I can help you. And he gave his phone number. I had never seen that before. And in my past experiences, when people say that, it's just like, they're just
What do you
saying
mean you haven't seen that before?
When people ask, how can I support you? To genuinely feel like they mean it. And
so you felt that from him.
I felt it. I felt it. And then after that training, a couple months later, I had a supervision meeting with my supervisor. And I went, and she said, Kenyatta, you need to get your stuff together. I don't want to use any profanity.
You can.
But she said,
it's okay.
you need to get your shit together. That's what she said. And I sat there and I looked at her like, who is this lady? Think she's, talking to me like this? But I sat back and I was like, maybe she has some truth to this. So I went in my car and I cried. I didn't know what else to do.
Did she elaborate on what that meant though?
She assumed that I knew.
Yeah.
Whatever her meaning was for it, I'm not sure if it was in alignment with what I made of it.
Right.
But it definitely shifted the trajectory of my life, that one conversation.
Okay.
And I'll be forever grateful.
Yeah.
It
for
that
out.
Conversation. It worked out. And I went in my car and I cried. And I remember this guy, he's like, oh, let me know if I can support you. So I called and I was crying. And
I need support.
Please help me. Jesus, look, anybody, please help me. And at that point, I really didn't even know what was wrong. I just felt off. I felt different. And he told me to go to Barnes & Noble, get Carol Dweck's mindset book and meet him at Starbucks the next day.
Wow.
And so I did that, and I've been receiving coaching ever since. He is, we do work together at this time too, and he also coaches me. Okay. And so that's where my journey started, with surrender. Looking back now, it was a surrender for me, even though I didn't know what it was or what it looked like.
And what do you mean by that? Elaborate on a surrender. What were you surrendering to?
Myself. Getting myself out of the way, looking at areas where I felt like I was being right in, even though I wasn't really feeling right. Also,
like you're doing all the right things, but
inside of me,
it's not really.
My soul didn't feel like it was being nourished in the way that I felt like that it could, even though I had not even experienced that. So that's the crazy part about it.
It's that feeling of there has to be more than to this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And at that point, I'll just back up a little. I was talking about the kids that aged out of foster care. I started a nonprofit organization in 2017 called Stairways to Success, and it's empowering lives one step at a time. So
that was even before.
This was before
you come into. Your surrender.
Yes.
Okay.
And I had actually written, when you graduate school and you have to do your resume, well, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I just kind of wrote it down, and it actually came to fruition. It came to fruition. And I have 2 properties, but at that time I was renting one of my properties out. And then I was like, okay, well, how am I going to do this? I ain't got no money. I don't even know where to start. So literally, I reached out to Chandra Stringer. Shout out to Chandra Stringer.
Yes.
If you ever need support with opening up businesses, prayer, anything like that, she helped me start
Really?
my nonprofit organization.
That's awesome. I had a pleasure of meeting her at an event one time.
Yes,
she's really awesome.
She's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I ended up doing was, instead of renting my house out to families, I turned it into a transitional housing for young adults aging out of foster care.
Is this still before the surrender?
This was before the surrender.
So, and I really admire that, because a lot of times when we are in a place mentally, we will allow it to hinder our progress. And so for you to still go forth with your vision, even in a time where you were, in a place where you needed more clarity, but you still went through with it, that's what I'm talking about. I always tell people, keep showing up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we can't erase what happened yesterday. Every day's a new day. You really have to wake up and say, okay, today's a new day. I'm doing this today. And I admire that.
Yeah. And on the top of it, I had just broken up from a relationship of 10 years.
Oh.
So I think that was a pivotal point for me.
Yeah. I know that, like, for me, even dealing with I don't even know what to call it, this thorn in my flesh.
Mm-hmm.
I know that times where I go through traumatic situations, it'll trigger it to be on a higher level. Yeah. So I have to adjust to whatever it takes to, get me back in line until I get to a place where I'm leveled out and I can, fly like I usually do.
Right.
But definitely, like, those things, life happens.
Oh yeah, it happens, and a lot of times we try to control it, but when we try to control life, you're still really not controlling it, because you're trying to control it.
Right.
The ultimate goal is to find ways to surrender. And surrender looks different for different people, So for me, that's really the key, surrendering to my negative thoughts, surrendering to the choices and decisions that I've made yesterday, being able to have grace for myself moving forward today.
Definitely.
And things like that is very important.
Yeah. Okay. So then, so you open this facility, then you come to your surrender, and then what happens after that?
And then what happens after that is where my weight loss journey started. Because my coach, he said, if I'm going to coach you, you need to lose 20 pounds. And I'm like, man, I'm paying you, right? How you going to tell me?
Wait, is this the coach, the awakening coach? I mean, the surrender coach, or this is a fitness coach?
This coach is a transformative coach. So he helps people get from where they are to where they want to be.
Okay. And that's what you do now, right?
That's what I do now.
Okay.
I do that now. But I didn't figure out why that was important until 2 years later.
Okay.
I didn't figure it out. But like I said, I love a challenge. So I was like, I can lose 20 pounds. I mean, at this point, I'm 224 pounds, got love handles over here, eating chicken and eating after 10 o'clock.
224 pounds, y'all. I can't lose 10 pounds. Look at her. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, dude, and so I said, okay, I'm a natural athlete. I played basketball growing up.
Okay.
I received a scholarship, actually, to play basketball at Beer University. I didn't mention that either. And so I knew that I could do it. And after that, I went through some trainings. He challenged me to read, which is something, if you just heard what I said about school, reading was not a part of it, but now I know that reading and growing is important. So I love to read. I love to read now. So, the goal was to read a book a month. And I was able to do that the first year. So I lost 64 pounds in 364 days the first year, and I read 12 books the first year. So now each year I am continuing to grow, on purpose. So from that, he was like, oh, you should get into this coaching program to be a transformative coach. I was like, I don't want to be no coach. I don't want to.
You really didn't want to do it?
I did.
So you didn't see the connection with your nonprofit and helping people, because that's transformative too, with the children aging out of the foster care system.
Yes.
That's a transformation.
Yes. Well, let me tell you this. I was afraid to talk in front of people.
Really?
During the same time, because when I was in the 3rd grade, I'm not sure if you can remember. I'm not sure if how old are you?
43.
How wise are you?
I'm 43.
Okay.
I was trying to remember how old I was.
Yeah. So back then, and this was at Washington Elementary School. The one teacher would have us to get up and spirit read. So we would stand up and read like 2 or 3 sentences, and I got up to read, and they laughed at me because I was stuttering and, all of these different things. And I said that they called me dumb, they called me ugly, they called me stupid. Like my self-worth was going down.
Wow.
And
this is the 3rd grade.
3rd grade. So from the 3rd grade all the way up until the age of 38, I struggled with talking in front of people. So I kind of became mute whenever we had, to do projects in school and you're working, in groups. I would do the work or be a part of doing the work and allow other people to present. And it was because of that limiting belief that I had about myself from an experience that I had. And I actually created the narrative of their actions.
And that's all about, that's mental health as well.
Oh, yeah. All of it's connected. All of everything that I do is really connected to why people do what they do. And what behaviors can be put into place. What are the limiting beliefs that we have about ourselves that we get to unlock? What about ourselves that is unconscious that we can bring into the consciousness so that we can be more aware and change the way that we live our lives. If we choose, again, it goes back to what you said, it's choice.
Right. And those choices aren't, I don't think that the world really makes. Okay, so I know that we live in a system. There's systems all over here. And so there's all these different systems. And sometimes what happens is if we don't learn how to get out of that system or create our own systems for our own lives, then you will live in those boxes that people put you in.
Yeah. And unfortunately, some of those boxes are unconscious and some of those boxes are conscious that we put ourselves in. And so the question becomes, well, what am I getting out of being in this box or this ecosystem? We have systems. Well, we're actually creating ecosystems that I know that are not good for me.
Right.
It's causing me to stay there.
Right.
We're really getting something out of it, even though we don't like it.
Right.
Yeah.
And those are the choices that we make.
Exactly.
And even if those are not, that's not exactly. I'll give an example. So, I'm newly married.
Oh, congratulations!
Yes, we haven't. Yeah. Everybody don't know that, but I would say it on the podcast, so now everybody know.
Well, I didn't know. Congratulations.
Yeah. Well, thank you. We went ahead and did that. But I had to, because of learned behavior and the system that I was used to, I had to make a choice that I was going to submit to my new system, and it was a hard turn for me because of what I was used to. But I said to myself, like, if I keep doing what I'm doing, I'm going to keep getting the same results, but also the things that I prayed for and the things I actually wanted are in my new system.
Right.
So if I don't submit to this new system, then I'm really self-sabotaging.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. That's powerful.
I honestly just came to this revolution not too long ago, revelation not too long ago, but one of the things that I've always wanted to do is have a platform where I could be transparent in my spiritual walk, because I do have a very strong relationship with God, but I need people to know that just because you have a relationship with God, you're a human,
right?
And there are ups and downs to this walk, and having a relationship with Him helps us. It shelters us. It nurtures us. Yet life is real.
Yeah.
Life is real. So I work to be, I've always been transparent with the people that are in my circle. So now being publicly transparent I know it'll help somebody.
Right. Vulnerability, people have it wrong. It's so powerful. Right. Like, even on social media, I'm very vulnerable because I feel like love and joy gets to be shared, you know, and who we're being actually is contagious. Whether it be good, bad, or ugly, it's still energy.
Yeah.
You know, so my goal is to always be able to impact and inspire people by any means necessary, as long as is that, you know, it honors everyone's dignity at the same time, because it's very, very important, you know.
Yeah.
So,
I like that. Yeah, and I'm like that as well. That's kind of how the name for this show, Sit With Me, came about, because I wanted to I did not turn off my ringer, Nat. I'm so sorry. I wanted to create a platform where you could sit with me, you know, regardless of our differences, or, you know, like we may not be on the same page with everything, but you still can sit with me. That's what you're talking about, that dignity. Like, there's an integrity to everybody, and everybody deserves respect, even though we have difference of opinion. So, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, there is a big distinction between dignity and respect. And if you'll notice that most people put the two together, and it really is separate. Like, dignity is our inherent value and worth, and that's our birthright. Respect comes from, am I being respectful, you know, to myself, to other people? That gets to be earned over time. It really does.
So respect gets to be earned. So did you think you can be disrespectful to some people? It's okay.
If I'm honoring my dignity, and dignity is one of my core values, I get to honor other people's dignity. Now, I'm not going to go outside myself and be mean and rude and all these other things. I get to take a look at myself internally and to see, well, what choices and decisions do I have? Like, there's people that don't like me. There may be people that don't know that, or I don't know, that don't like me. But I still get to show them dignity. Now, that includes family members too. You know, if you don't agree with the way that I live my life or the choices and decisions that I make, I'm still honoring your dignity. I'm still going to speak to you. I'm still going to respect you regardless of what it is that I have learned that you've said about me and all these different things. My way to protect my joy and my love and my peace is to find a way to separate myself and still love and still honor dignity.
Right. I had a conversation with somebody even about how they share. It was this thing where, like, a lot of times when people ask about the Bible or whatever and religion, and sometimes, a lot of times, people are just trying to get clarity, and the person on the other end they call it apologetics, but they are trying to defend the gospel, but the way that they do it is in such a way that you turn people off. Like, so there's no love in that. And I would tell them, I was like, when you explain it to somebody, you have to explain it in love. Like, if you do you really want them to understand it, or you just want to defend your point?
And do you want to be right?
You know, and that's
that's one of the main reasons we have so much conflict is people wanting to be right, and people wanting people to believe in what it is that they believe in. But when we have difference of opinions, and if that does create some conflict, let's have a conversation about it. You know, is it more important to be right, or is it more important to get it right? And so what's at the core of all of that for me is love.
And that's what I tell you. You have to say it in love. You have to, you know, relate those differences in love. Because at the end of the day, you could still have a difference of opinion and still love. Yeah. Okay, so so with Kenyatta Speaks, now that you're doing transformational coaching, and so you're taking on personal clients now?
Yes. I have personal clients now. I'm also a motivational speaker.
So you went from not wanting to speak in front of people, now you on a big stage.
Now on the podcast. Yeah, well, what happened with that, you know, with some of these trainings that I went to, I was able, and these were experiential trainings that helped me uncover the limiting beliefs and the stories that I was telling myself. You know, that third grade class didn't call me dumb, ugly, and stupid. I made that
felt
up.
That, though.
Yeah, I interpreted how they were acting as such. And so that was real self-sabotaging for me. I mean, I'm, you know, cognitive level at 3 years, in third grade isn't where it is now.
Right.
I just had
But you
this.
still carry that with you.
Oh my gosh, yes.
But I think we all do it, especially when we get to look back at those childhood traumas. Like we carry, like you said, those limiting beliefs with us. And they're not necessarily what was said or what was done, but that's
What we created.
that's what we took from it.
Yeah. And then speaking of trauma, it doesn't even have to be anything like sexual
Right.
abuse or seeing somebody get shot. Like it was traumatic for someone just to laugh at me.
Yeah. I can imagine. I was a teacher. I was very conscious of how my students treated each other in my class because I understood
Yeah.
that. Like you're a child, you're still vulnerable. Even how adults treat children.
Oh my gosh.
I think that is like something that people are not really conscious enough of
Right.
and accountable
Right.
enough for.
Right. Because a lot of times, even when it's talked about, oh, I was just playing, oh, this
Right.
like
They
that's
don't
not
know
okay.
that. It's not okay. Like
It's
it's not
That's
okay.
not cool. It's not cool.
Oh, gosh.
So yeah, I'm also a facilitator of learning,
Okay.
and a mental health therapist. So I'm a contracted mental health therapist for a local agency here in Palm Beach County too.
Okay.
So
So how have you taken like what you've experienced in your transformation to your clients?
um, my way of being. So I'm going to give you the 3 different ways that, in my experiences, that people live their life. One way is the have, do, be. And have, do, be, these are your victims of life. If I had enough money, if I had cars, if I had the relationships, then I'll do the things that I need to do, and then I'll be happy,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So those are your victims. And the do have be, these are your worker bees. This was my top one, going to school, working 2 jobs,
Mm-hmm.
doing all of this stuff. Well, if I do more, if I have, more jobs, making more money, then I can afford this, huge house, and I can make my family happy.
Mm-hmm.
So if I do more, I'll have all the things that I want to have, and then I'll be happy.
Mm-hmm.
But then be do have is leadership. So be do have asks, well, who do I get to be today
Mm-hmm.
to do the things that I get to do
Mm-hmm.
so that I can have the results that I want to have in my life?
I like that.
And so from your being, you're really being intentional about the things that you're doing, and you're conscious of it. You're aware of it.
Right.
And then all of your results will be the byproduct of who you've been being.
Right.
And so I'm very intentional about creating joy. You'll notice we came in today.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, are you really okay?
Like,
Yeah.
I just brushed it off. But I even noticed that sometimes if somebody says, hey, how you doing? And you could say, fine, how are you?
Right.
That's just an automatic response. It's not,
Exactly.
you're not really answering the question. You're just
Right.
on auto.
Right. Autopilot,
Mhm.
which, and I still get on it every day.
Mhm.
The only difference between me and you is levels of consciousness of what's important.
Right.
And how much work we've done on our internal selves, over time. That's really the only difference. People ask, well, how did you lose weight and this is that? I'm like, I don't know. I just, pay attention to what I'm eating.
Right.
Am I being consistent? Am I
Mhm.
being disciplined? Am I being courageous? Am I being graceful with myself when I don't hit my marks for today?
Right.
That's really the only difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then that way you're able to stay consistent. I know a lot of times when people with trying to change their eating patterns, like if you fall off, then they just fall off.
Yes.
You got to fall off and keep going. I even do it. Like I do a lot of fasting. And so, sometimes if something goes wrong, you don't stop, you just keep going.
Yeah.
So just learning how to complete the things that you start.
Yeah. And being able to ask yourself powerful questions,
Mhm.
even at the end of the day. Did I keep my word to myself today? You can check it off, yes or no. If I didn't, or if, I ate that piece of cheesecake when I said I was going to eat some spinach,
Mhm.
well, what worked
Mhm.
today? What didn't work?
Mhm.
What could I add?
Right. So do you believe in adjusting?
You can describe that for me.
So, like, let's say you're saying what didn't work today and what did work today.
Mm-hmm.
So, if something didn't work, do you believe in adjusting?
So when I ask that question, it's yes, I would say. But it also still goes back to the being. What worked? Well, I wasn't being consistent. Well, what did I say yes to that caused me to say no to myself today? So what it does is it evokes thought. Right. And one thing that, a lot of people don't do is take the time to critically think and take the time to reflect because, this world is hustle and bustle. Let's go.
Right.
Such and such having a party. This is that. Well, are you making time for yourself?
Yeah.
Even 5 minutes.
Like thinking, you're saying like thinking about your thought process.
Yeah.
I always say thinking about your self-talk. And like, because a lot of times we're talking to ourselves all the time. I know I talk to myself all the time. So, and I'll have to correct some of my thinking. Like, no, that's not right. No, we're not going to think that way. No, this is the way that we're going to think.
Right.
But I was asking about the adjustments because sometimes people get into a place where maybe you can't have that grace for yourself or you're beating yourself up because you're unable to adjust. Like if that's not working for you, that's not working for you.
Right.
So maybe you could maybe there's another way to get to the result that you're looking for, or maybe the result that you're looking for is not the right result.
Yeah. And sometimes those, for me, my results are more internal and becoming the best version of me every day. So how can I be 1% better than I was the day before? And so being able to do that, it causes me to think. And if I'm asking myself these questions, well, sometimes the surrender has to come at different points. Sean Hawkins is actually my trainer. I surrendered and got a personal trainer in August of last year. And I was like, man, I think I'm getting good at this. I want to be a power lifter, right?
Oh, look, you'll be on the Ninja Warriors.
I don't know if I'll make it that far. But I was like, I'm thinking about, going to get my physical training license.
Really?
Yeah. And then I'm going through it.
Because you're enjoying it.
I'm enjoying it. So that's how we think about, our results and the things that we're interested in. It could be leisure, but sometimes we try to make these businesses out of things that may not even supposed to be a business.
Right.
So that's just an example of what you're saying for me. Okay, well, I had to really step back, self-reflect, and see, well, is that really what I wanted to do?
Right.
Well, no, this might just be a hobby for me to look up, different recipes and look up different resources and ways to lose belly fat and all this stuff. Not necessarily career for me.
Right. But in your career, because our next segment, we're going to be talking about health, actually, the physical health. And I know for a fact, for me personally, like how I eat affects my mental health.
I'm telling you.
That clarity, like I'm doing vegan right now, but I just, and I really know, honestly, for myself that eating clean, eating vegan, is just a better choice for me. Not that I like to be a vegan or anything like that. My body just operates better. My mind operates better. I'm able to create better when I'm eating this way. And I know it's because my body's not utilizing all the energy to do certain things. But I don't know. Even I stopped eating meat in December and my skin cleared up so much better. I've been fighting acne like for the last 15 years.
Wow.
I had adult acne. And so I stopped eating the meat and my skin cleared up. And so I've just been doing fish, but now I'm transitioning, just going to do some fasting and, just trying some different things. But the way you eat is definitely a part of that transformation.
Yeah. People talk about mind, body, spirit. Well, am I being mindful? Am I being spiritual?
Right.
Am I being healthy?
Right.
It's, am I doing these things or am I being these things?
Oh, right.
Because you can go and lose weight. Well, what do they call it? It's summertime, summertime fine,
yeah.
Whatever it is. Well, what happens after summer is over?
Right.
What happens
So it's not that you're being that, you're just doing it for the moment.
For the moment. Yeah.
Right.
And that's why, we were talking about the why earlier. And my why is to plant seeds in the lives of all so that collectively we ignite inspiration in which others may grow. So when I first started losing weight, I was like, "Oh shoot, don't you quit!" I can go buy some more clothes, And then after a while, it's like, okay, well, my coach said to lose the weight. What it really wasn't about the vanity piece of it,
right?
Because the healthier you are,
but you felt better.
The clearer you think, the more ideas you have, and the more lives you get to impact.
Right.
So
because you vibrate on a higher level.
Yes.
Like if everybody's, and not talking against how people eat or whatever, but it's a fact.
Right.
You can run with the crowd. The Bible says it's straight and narrow. So there's a path that is not a lot of people are going to take, but that path helps you to rise above.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm 18 hours fasted right now, and I feel like I've eaten steaks and all of this other stuff to feel good.
Yeah.
So I, for the past 4 months, I've been focusing on gut health for all of the reasons that you're saying right now. How can I find ways to extract internally what's already inside of me so it'll show up externally? And so that way of being actually shines without me even trying to make it shine. It's like automatic.
Because you're being it.
Because I am being it. Yeah.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're being it. You're not trying to be it. You're really taking it day by day to make that a part of who you are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what do you say to the person that is experiencing like depression and things of that nature? Like from a healthcare professional point of view, what do people do?
Well, there are a lot of
how do you even, like, let's say first, how do you recognize that you may need some mental health care?
Well, your ways of being may be off. You may feel sluggish. You may notice that your mood is shifting. You may notice who you are being when you're with other people. Is this normally how I was 2 weeks ago? And things like that. So, one thing for me, I've never been diagnosed with a mental health disorder, but I'm pretty sure that I've experienced some depression at some point in my life. My mom passed away in 2020, but I used my own defense mechanisms that I did not know that I was doing at that time. And defense mechanisms aren't always negative. There are some positive defense mechanisms. It's only there to kind of protect us.
Right.
But in that time, I noticed my being was off because I was actually caring for my mom from June all the way up until December. She passed away of brain cancer.
Oh.
And so I noticed because I was exercising, 4 to 5 times out of the week, and I stopped. And the first thing I noticed, I started to gain weight. I was being sluggish and all these, other things. And I was like, okay, well, is my routine on? So one of the things that I would recommend is creating a morning routine for yourself. And that morning routine can look like prayer, meditation, maybe 15 minutes of some sort of movement. I'm not going to say exercise because a lot of people don't like exercise.
I am not exercising. I have decided that is not what I'm going to do, but I will go walking. And like you said, I will create a morning routine that helps me with consistency and like you set in your day.
Yeah. And that is exercise, by the way. You get to give yourself some credit.
The walking. I'll go. That's about it.
Yeah. Well, some people don't do that.
Because I had a gym membership probably for 3 years, and they probably saw me 3 times.
You need to tell them, hey, I fell off.
No, I went and canceled it. I was like, listen, my god sister used it for a while, and my son was using it. Then I went and canceled it because I was not going to nobody's gym.
Yeah. So yeah, morning routine. I just finished reading this book called The 5 a.m. Club. And it talks about waking up at 5 a.m. and the benefits of it. And this is some neuroscience,
I love neuroscience.
Yeah. When you get up, you're kind of releasing cortisol, you're creating dopamine, you have all of these different chemicals that you get to activate. People drink coffee and all of that. Well, you're seeking external resources to give you what it is that you need. Well, like what's possible if I can actually pull that what's already inside of me out with all of the extra, things externally.
Right.
And so this book actually says, it's called the 20-20-20 rule. So you do 20 minutes of, if it's prayer, meditation, listening to gospel, and things like that, 20 minutes of some form of movement, and then 20 minutes of learning something new. You activate and you get an opportunity to shift your mood just that quick.
I love that. Can you repeat it?
What, the 20-20-20 rule? So it's 20 minutes of some form of exercise, 20 minutes of either it's prayer, meditation, listening to gospel, journaling. That's a big one because I do it every morning. And then 20 minutes of learning something new. So that way you're able to access the chemicals in your mind and your body. You're releasing cortisol and things like that, so that you get to show up in the best way that you can when you actually start to communicate with people or, see people and things like that.
Because you've already given yourself, and then you're already filling yourself with what you need before you go out and something else fills you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, like you take control over your being.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Actually, you declare your being.
You declare your being.
Oh, yeah. It's powerful. Yeah.
So you want to talk about that?
What?
Declaring your being.
Excuse me. So, with declaration, we get to, I'm not sure if you've ever wrote down affirmations. And, I'm love, I'm kind, I'm great. That's still the doingness piece of it. Well, what if I actually really believe that I am?
Right.
What if my behaviors and my choices every day actually reflected that? Like, how powerful would that be? So if you're able to declare who you get to be today, who you get to impact today, hopefully first you're impacting yourself, and then you go out and you do those things with intention. With intention.
How do I don't know, how do people get to that place? Because like you're saying, like I actually believe this stuff I be saying. Like some people be like, your faith is crazy. And it really is. But I've been through so much in my life that I don't know. I just kind of threw away everything else and chose to live this way. But how do people go from wishing, hoping to being?
Well, it's a process, and
I love the process.
It's a process, and it's surrender. A lot of people talk about habits. You spend 20 days doing one thing, and you.
I did that.
It does not work.
Not if you're talking about getting it in there.
Yeah. But the thing is in order to create a habit, you get to practice what you're trying to create.
Okay.
So it's really a practice. I'm not reaching a goal of creating a habit. I'm just reaching a goal of being disciplined and consistent. So if we start there, and I can only speak from my experiences with this question that you're asking, because I'm not saying that this is all set in stone, this is the way to do it, but it worked for me. So every morning I'll get up, and before I started doing the 5 a.m. club, I would read, meditate, weigh myself every day. I still do that, just to hold myself accountable. And I pray, and I do all of what I'm saying I'm going to do. And what I noticed over time is that I was doing it. Like, oh yeah, I prayed, and this.
You're not just telling people to do it. No. You're doing it.
Yeah. And so because I asked my coach, I was like, well, how do you be? I was so frustrated on coach call. I was like, how do you do it? Just tell me how to be, and this is that. And he couldn't give me the answer.
Right.
And the thing is that I can't give you the answer. It all boils down to what is important to you.
Right.
It boils right back down to that why.
And willing to go through that process.
Yeah.
And knowing that it's not going to happen overnight.
Right. And, one thing that I've noticed over the past year and a half, we talk about conflict. Like, probably as soon as you walk out of the door, it's going to be some kind of conflict. Even if it's not conflict with you personally, it could be, people blowing the horn at somebody who didn't pull out fast enough, at the green light.
Somebody did me like that this morning. I was like, really? Yeah. You just gonna lay on your horn like that? Not a nice little beat, but
yeah. Okay. You go into the Walgreens and you rush into people. You're in conflict.
Yes.
So
and that energy is just draining. Right.
Well, if one can shift their perspective on conflict, It is the most powerfulest thing that you can do. So if I am in a conflict with someone, I'm surrendering to the conflict, and we talked about being right and all of that. And I ask myself, well, what is it that I'm supposed to learn? Because if I'm supposed to learn something from this, I have no choice but to grow if I'm willing to go into solitude and reflect on it.
Exactly. I just said that this weekend. I was thinking about like losses. Like you never lose if you learn a lesson.
Right. I invite conflict, but I don't like conflict.
I don't like conflict
There's
either.
a big difference.
But I do learn my lessons. Like I'm very mindful to make sure that I learn whatever I'm supposed to learn from that. But I don't, because a lot of people take losses personally,
Right.
And it can be really devastating for some people where it's crippling and it doesn't allow them to move on. So, but seeing a loss as a lesson, like really look at it, what can I learn? And I could just keep going. People have asked me about like different entrepreneurial things that I have done. And I always say, like, at least I could say I did it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like if it doesn't work out, okay, I'm able to create something else. I'm able to do something else.
Right.
I have no problem with that. But a lot of people get so, like I said, you're just beat up on themselves so bad about the losses. And,
that's where grace kind of comes back into play. And that's something that I'm actually practicing now is grace. Because
explain what grace is, because somebody might not even know what grace is.
Okay.
We've been talking about it the whole time.
How do I have patience? How do I have see what would be a good word for it? How do I have when I say grace is like space. So I'll just give an example of it because I don't really have a good definition for it. We have grace for people, someone being late, right? Okay, well, because we're really all making stories up. We're making stories up every day, all the time. And if I'm going to make a story up about a loss that I've had or a goal that I did not meet, well, that means I can make a story up that's going to help propel myself, forward if that's the direction that I want to go. So creating grace for yourself allows you to surrender to the negative thoughts that you're having, the limitations that you may be putting on yourself, and the stress and the pressure. Allow yourself to breathe. Tell yourself it's okay.
It's okay.
Let yourself know, hey, tomorrow is a new day.
Right.
So it's kind of like, okay, tomorrow I get to choose. The next day I get to choose. Because failure is a part of the process.
Right.
And if people learn to surrender to failure as being a part of the process, you can look at it as so many ways to create so many new opportunities. And also it creates trust in yourself if I'm willing to grow from it.
Yeah. I like that. Understanding that failure is a part of the process. Like, everybody doesn't get that. But it's the understanding that failure is a part of the process.
And it's really like a switch. I'm allowing myself to view failure as a part of the process.
Right.
And that goes back to choice, what you said earlier.
Right. That's good. That's good. So just wrapping up, go ahead and what would you like to say to someone that is possibly struggling with their mental health, but they are suffering silently and they're afraid to get help?
Being open to just being open to a new possibility and choosing not to look at my life, this is it, this is all. Some ways that I do, with my own therapy, one of the main things that you can do to try to support you if you're in a mood, or again, we've been talking about find something to do for somebody else, being service, because you'll never really know how that would affect your own mental health, your own mood. It also affects other people as well. I would say be willing to be a part of the process. Find other people, and I'm not saying this in a way, go find other people that have like mental health issues.
Yeah, you.
But find and be willing to allow yourself to trust your support system. Because it always takes other people whose legs we get to stand on until we can stand on our own. And so it's really about trusting myself to say that, hey, I am not okay. And then the new thing hey, I am not okay with being okay. And who is it that I get to be so that I can be okay? So that I can be okay.
Like you have a choice.
You have right back to choice. That needs to be the name of this choice.
Choice. You can make a choice to be mentally healthy. Go ahead and shout out. How can they get in contact with you? If somebody's ready to start their transformation and they want to contact you, go ahead and give your information.
Well, I'm going to give my phone number because I don't even advertise or things like that. I just think that it's really, people who want to be able to do the work of transformation has to be ready to do the work of transformation. It's nothing that I can say, hey, anybody want to coach you? They don't really get it.
Right.
Right. So
it says somebody, because when somebody is at the point of seeking the help, then they're ready.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So really, all of my coaching clients have come to me, all of them, from my way of being and how I show up, So my phone number is 561. I hope my fiance doesn't get me for this. Sorry, Carmen, but it's already plastered everywhere.
Forgive, Carmen, forgive.
It's 561-584-2240. And I'm also on Facebook. I've pretty much been using my own personal page. It's Kenyatta Connaway. And on Instagram, it's being_KC. And my email address is Connaway, that's KCONNAWAY 23@outlook.com.
I like being Casey.
Yes, I'm being me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So thank you all for listening in. This has been Sit With Me with our guest, Kenyatta Speaks, and she's giving you the tools to reach out to her. Also, we know that the information that you're getting here is to help you on your journey, in your mental health journey, because we all can live healthier. We all can live better. We just have to choose to do it, right?
Yeah. And the journey does not end until we get to the other side of the grass. So we get to choose when our journey starts.
Hey, you get to choose when your journey starts. Like, that might not even be your journey that you're on.
Yeah.
That could be somebody else's journey. We ain't talk about that.
Yeah.
Living up to other people's expectations and all of that. Okay, been there, done that. Yeah. All right, y'all. This is Sit With Me with Tori Christina. I'll see you on the next show.